In the previous session, we have learnt about inflorescence. So we have tried to define what is inflorescence. We have studied about the different types of inflorescence. We have looked into how flowers are arranged on the axis of the inflorescence. Yes? And in today's session, let us start our study about the flower. See, flower is a very beautiful organ in the plant body of the angiosperms. So apart from angiosperms, we will not be able to see the flowers in any other type of plant. You already have studied the kingdom Plantae, right? The 5 different divisions you have studied in no other kingdom other than angiosperms. So the plants will be able to produce the flowers. See, flowers, of course, they add to the beauty of the nature. They add to the beauty of the plant body, right? Because of their fascinating colors and also because of their fragrance, right? Soothing fragrance it can be. So all these aspects are there, and that is why we humans make use of the flowers for every occasion, almost every occasion, right? Be it is a very auspicious, very happy occasion, or sometimes even in the obituaries or death anniversaries also, even when somebody is dead, then also we have a tradition of using flowers. That means flowers make every occasion complete, perfect, right? But is that the only use of the flower? Why do actually plants produce flowers? Why do angiosperm plants produce flowers? Yes, we all know, for reproduction, for sexual reproduction. The flower in the angiosperm plant body, it is not produced just to beautify the plant body or just to beautify the nature, or not just for usage of human beings, but the basic function of flower is to involve in sexual reproduction, right? See, until now we have studied about what? Stem, root and leaf. These are the organs of the angiosperm plant which will not be involved in sexual reproduction, and those parts are called as vegetative organs or vegetative parts of the plant body. Remember, this term will be used more often from now onwards. See, vegetative means non-sexual. Non-sexual. The part which will not be utilized, which will not be involved in the process of sexual reproduction will be called as a vegetative part, right? Similarly, a part which is used in the sexual reproduction or which is involved in the sexual reproduction will be called as generative part. Generative. So, flower, is it a generative part or a vegetative part? Definitely, a flower, as it involves in sexual reproduction, so it is called as what? A generative organ of the angiosperm plant body. And more specifically, you can call a flower as the organ of sexual reproduction. Organ of sexual reproduction, right? So, whatever the different parts of the flowers are there, right? See, every flower, almost every flower produced on the angiosperm plant body will be having 4 different parts that you already have come across in your lower classes. Yes, can you name which are those different parts? Yes, like calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, right? So these are the 4 different parts, or they are also called as whorls of a flower. See, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Androecium and gynoecium, right? See, these are referred to as, they are the whorls of a flower. Yes, these 4 are called as whorls. Why they are called as whorls of a flower? You take any flower and observe it. ಒಂದು ಹೂವನ್ನ ಹೀಗೆ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೇಲಿಂದ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮೊಗ್ಗನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಓಪನ್ಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. If you go and observe a flower from above like this, what will you see? You are going to see various layers arranged one after the other in a concentric manner. In a concentric manner means what? See, the outermost circle will be of the calyx, and the next circle will be of, or next whorl will be of the corolla, and next whorl will be of the androecium. The innermost whorl will be of the gynoecium. See, this is the calyx, this is the corolla, this is the androecium, and this one is the gynoecium. I hope it is very clear now why the flower, why the different parts of a flower such as calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, why they are called as whorls of a flower. It is because of the concentric arrangement, right? The circular arrangement of these different parts, right? And these will be having their appendages. That means the whorl is called as calyx, the whorl is called as corolla, but the appendages of the calyx means what? See, example kodtene. This is called palm, alva. Ee palm na appendages andre yavadu? Digits andre yavadu? Fingers, alva. Similarly, calyx na appendages ge navu enanta kariteve? They are called as sepals. Okay, see, this is whorl, this is appendage. Appendage means the digits or the parts of that particular whorl of the flower. Calyx na appendages again in the karitave, they are called as sepals. The appendages of corolla are called as what? Petals, right? Androecium. Androecium means it is the male sex organ of the plant or male sex organ of the flower, and the appendages of the androecium, they are called as stamens. And gynoecium, this is the female sex organ of the flower, and the appendages of the gynoecium, they are called as what? The carpels or pistils, pistil or carpel. Okay, so these are the 4 different whorls of a flower, and which are concentrically arranged. Okay, see, this is about the general idea, and these 4 whorls are produced on a swollen base-like structure which is produced from the stalk of the flower. See, do you remember what is the stalk of a leaf called as? The stalk of a leaf is called as petiole. Yes, petiole means it is the stalk of the leaf which can hold the leaf in proper position. Right? It is also giving some mechanical support. Yes. Similarly, the stalk of a flower will be called as pedicel. Pedicel means stalk of a flower. Pedicel. Okay. And on this pedicel, there will be a swollen structure. The swollen structure of the, or swollen end of the pedicel. This is what is called as thalamus. This is called as thalamus, or the other name for thalamus is receptacle. The other name of the thalamus is receptacle, on which all these 4 whorls of a flower are arranged or are produced. See, like this, calyx, you know, they are the small green leaf-like structures. Yes, this is the calyx. And the appendages of calyx, that is each green leaf-like structure here, will be called as what? The sepal. Illi pratiyondu iruvantaha digit ge navu sepal anta kariteve. The entire part which is consisting of many sepals will be called as what? It is called as calyx. And which is the next whorl? Yes, that is the corolla. Corolla means the appendages of the corolla are what? They are nothing but the petals. Yes. So you are seeing the petals like this. So petals are the appendages of the corolla. Yes, these are the colorful, very brightly colored or colorful organs of a flower, that is the petals. See, corolla is the entire whorl and petals are the what? Appendages of the corolla, right? And androecium, the next whorl is the androecium, that is it is consisting of many stamens that represents the male sex organ of the flower. Male sex organ. And how the stamens are arranged? Like this. So these are the stamens, right? And what is the innermost whorl? That is the gynoecium. So the parts of the gynoecium or the appendages of the gynoecium, they are called as carpels or pistils, and they represent the female sex organ of the flower. See, the innermost whorl will be like this. So this is how all the four whorls of a flower are resting on the thalamus or receptacle. And what is thalamus or receptacle here? Thalamus or receptacle is the swollen end of the stalk of the flower, and the stalk of the flower here is called as what? Pedicel. The technical term that we used to name the stalk of the flower will be what? Pedicel. It can be a 1 mark important question. Okay, remember that. So on this pedicel, the swollen end will be there, that is called thalamus. On the thalamus, all the four whorls of the flower are resting. As you can see, they are concentrically arranged, and that is why they are called as whorls of a flower. Now let us understand what all the different types of flowers can be based on different aspects. Maybe based on the symmetry of the flower, maybe based on whether androecium only is present or gynoecium only is present, or both are present. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದರ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್. So the first aspect that we are going to consider here is based on the presence or absence of the sex organs, the basic sex organs present in the flower. See, though the entire flower will be called as a sex organ of the flowering plant, here not all the organs are participating directly in the sexual reproduction. That means these two parts called calyx and corolla, they are helping organs for the sexual process, sexual reproduction process, whereas these two parts, androecium and gynoecium, they are actively participating, directly participating in the process of sexual reproduction. Then what do these do? They provide, of course we are going to study in detail about these. The main functions of these two is to provide protection to the underlying or innerlying androecium and gynoecium, and also to do the functions, especially the corolla, that is the petals which are brightly colored, which are attractively colored. They will attract the pollinators to cause the pollination, which will later lead to the sexual reproduction. Yes, so now let us look into the types of flowers, that is unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers means either the androecium or gynoecium is present, not both. ಒಂದು ಆಂಡ್ರೋಶಿಯಂ ಆದ್ರೂ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಗೈನೋಶಿಯಂ ಆದ್ರೂ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಎರಡು ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. Then it will be called as unisexual flower. Uni stands for what? One, right? Unisexual means that it is having only one sexual organ. Either it is male sex organ it should be, or female sex organ. That is unisexual flower, right? Bisexual flowers. So bisexual flowers means what? It will be having both androecium and gynoecium present in the same flower. Both androecium and gynoecium are present in the same flower. That will be called as bisexual flower, right? So this is one type of classification of the flower. And also based on symmetry. Based on symmetry also, we are going to classify the flowers into three different types, such as actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and asymmetric, or is also called as amorphic. So these are the three different types of flowers based on what? Symmetry of the flower. What is symmetry? Symmetry ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು? See, it is the correct geometrical positioning or correct geometrical structure of any body, right? So that you have already learned in physics also, and you also have come across that in mathematics also, right? So what we are learning here about the flower is, so how or in what many ways or how many ways you can cut a flower into two equal parts. So that is what actually we are talking about symmetry here, right? Symmetry, I'm going to draw the diagrams here for symmetry of the flower. So the first one, as we have considered, actinomorphic flower. See, take an example of jasmine. take an example of jasmine, and this jasmine flower, you can cut this into two equal parts in two different planes. In two different planes, ಎರಡು different planes ಅಲ್ಲಿ. See, this is one plane and this is the other plane. ಎರಡು different plane ನಲ್ಲಿ you can cut the flower into two exact halves, right? So if you cut it vertically also, see, half of this petal and 2 plus 2. So that means, so equal parts are there, equal halves are there. Even if you cut it horizontally also, that means equal portions of the flower can be there. So in fact, it should be like this. So half of this petal will be cut in both cases. Okay, so this is an actinomorphic flower and zygomorphic flower. See, actinomorphic example yavu kodbodu, jasmine you can give, or what is that, sunflower you can give, or even hibiscus are the different examples for the actinomorphic flower. Actinomorphic is also referred to as radial symmetry. Actinomorphic is also referred to as radial symmetry, and here the other one is zygomorphic. Here we can take the example of gulmohar. Have you seen the gulmohar flower? It is also commonly called as mayflower, and usually this flower will be having the arrangement of the petals like this. So this flower cannot be cut into two equal parts in two different planes. See, this is the only plane in which you can make a two halves of this particular flower. In the case of what? Cassia example, cassia or gulmohar. So this is what is called as zygomorphic flower, and the zygomorphic, the other name for zygomorphic can be, it is bilateral symmetry. It is bilateral symmetry, okay? And the other one is amorphic flower. I will draw it here. Amorphic flower means there will be no symmetry, and you cannot cut the flower. The structure of the flower cannot be cut into two equal halves in any plane. So there is only one example we can give, one unique flower that is called as canna indica. Kannadadalli kaabale anta kariteve. Okay, so the flower, if you have seen the flower in the garden, it will be like this. It will be usually red and yellow colored mixed flower, and the flower will be having some irregular shaped petals like this. So by the look itself, the flower will look very irregular, very haphazardly arranged, right? So that is what is the canna indica. So canna anta nenpitkonಡ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. This is the example for amorphic flower or asymmetric flower. Okay, so this is the types of the flowers based on the symmetry. So one type of classification of the flowers, that is unisexual and bisexual. Of course, let me mention the examples here. For unisexual flower, you can consider cucumber. Saute hoovanna nodidre, so it will be usually having what? Unisexual flowers. Okay, that means either the androecium will be there or the gynoecium will be there. Another best example for this is papaya. In fact, in papaya, the plant itself will be different. Okay, if you bring a male plant and plant it in your garden and wait for years to produce the fruits, it will never produce the fruit because it does not have the gynoecium. ಅದು ಮೇಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೇಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಗೈನೋಶಿಯಂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ನೋ ಸೀಡ್ ಸೆಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ನೋ fruit production, right? So bisexual flower, there are many examples here. Hibiscus you can give, right? Mango you can give. There are many more examples you can consider. This is one type of classification. This is another type of classification. So let's go for other types of classification now. The other types of classification of the flower we are going to consider here is based on the number of appendages present in the flower, such as, so we can classify the flower starting from trimerous. Trimerous means there are 3 appendages. What appendages? That is calyx and corolla it can be, or androecium and gynoecium it can be. Usually flower ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, number of the calyx, number of the sepals will be almost equal to number of petals. Okay, but it may not be the same in the case of the androecium and gynoecium. That may be different, right? So usually based on the number of the sepals and petals, we are going to classify the flowers into trimerous, tetramerous. Tetramerous means 4 appendages are there. That means 4 calyx, 4 sepals or 4 petals. Pentamerous. Pentamerous means there can be 5 petals and 5 sepals. So this is also one more type of classification of flowers based on the number of the appendages present in a particular flower, right? See, one is based on the symmetry, right? Under symmetry we have got 3 different types: actinomorphic, zygomorphic, or amorphic. The third one is amorphic. Amorphic is also called as asymmetric, or it can also be called as irregular flower, right? So you need to remember the examples for actinomorphic. Jasmine you can remember, sunflower you can remember, right? And for zygomorphic, cassia and gulmohar. And for amorphic or asymmetric or irregular flower, you can remember the example canna, right? And the other type of classification, that is unisexual and bisexual flower, that is most common. For unisexual flower you can remember the example of cucumber flower or papaya flower, and for bisexual flower you can remember the example of mango or hibiscus, anything, right? So this is the third type of classification based on the number of appendages. And the fourth type is based on, see, this is based on number of appendages. Appendages present in a flower. And the fourth type we are going to consider here is that based on position of ovary. Based on position of ovary. See, here we are going to have 3 different types of flowers. I am going to draw 3 diagrams now. You need to see what difference is there, and based on those differences we can identify 3 different types of flowers. See, this is the thalamus. You know what is thalamus? That is the swollen terminal portion, swollen end of the stalk of the flower. What is the stalk of the flower called as? It is called as pedicel, right? And on that there will be what? This is the ovary. That is the gynoecium, right? So, and androecium will be there like this. Androecium, right? And the corolla, and the calyx. See, this is one type of flower which we can see here. The another type of flower we are going to study here is, I am going to draw the ovary, that is the gynoecium. So the gynoecium, and we are seeing the thalamus that is completely encircling the gynoecium here. See, this is the thalamus that is completely encircling the gynoecium, and the calyx arises from here. Calyx, the corolla, right? And even the androecium. So this is another type of flower. What difference can we see here? The position of the ovary is above all other organs or all other worlds of a flower. That means when you look at the position of the androecium, when you look at the position of the calyx and corolla, illenagide anta helidre all of them are arising from the base of the ovary. Yes, that means when all of them are arising from the base of the ovary, which is also meaning what? Ovary is present all above all of these worlds, right? That is why the ovary here can be called as superior ovary. Superior ovary. The meaning is only this one: the ovary is present or ovary is placed above all the 3 other worlds. In ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓವರಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಆಂಡ್ರೋಶಿಯಂ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಓವರಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಓವರಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಸೆಪಲ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. Alva? So that is why ovary is superior. And this type of flower in which the superior ovary is there, this type of flower can be called as hypogynous flower. Hypogynous flower. See, confuse ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಡಿ. Superior ovary, superior, inferior ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ, that is only with respect to the ovary, the position of the ovary. Here, when I use the terms such as hypogynous or epigynous or perigynous, then that is with respect to the flower, not with respect to the ovary. Hypo stands for what? Hypo stands for below. Hypo stands for below. Below what? Gynous stands for what? Gynoecium, right? The flower is present below the gynoecium, alva? So gynoecium ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ other parts of the ovary or other parts of the flower are arising, and that is what this is called as hypogynous flower. And similarly, look at this one. The position of the ovary is what? It is below all other worlds, and that is why the ovary will be called as what? Inferior ovary. The ovary is inferior. So you can shade it like this, so that this is the thalamus. So thalamus na mele ide, but illi bere parts compare madidre the position of the ovary is below. That is why it is a inferior ovary. Whereas the flower, which is consisting of the inferior ovary, that can be called as what? It can be called as epigynous flower. It can be called as epigynous flower. Epigynous stands for what? Epi stands for above. Epi stands for above. Above what? Gynoecium. Gynoecium ninda ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ flower ಇದೆ. That is why it is called epigynous flower. Okay? Inferior ovary ಇದ್ದದ್ದು epigynous flower, superior ovary ಇದ್ದದ್ದು hypogynous flower. Okay? Then the other one, I am going to draw another diagram now. Look at this one. See, this is the thalamus, and this is the stalk, that is the pedicel, and here you are seeing the calyx, arising of the calyx, and this one is what? Gynoecium, like this, right? And so all other worlds, like the petals are arising from here, even the androecium are arising from the same position. See, in this flower, the position of the ovary with respect to the other parts of the flower is not below, neither below nor above. So exactly equal there. That means all of them are lying in the same axis. So you can call this kind of ovary what? It is neither superior nor inferior. That is why it can be called as half superior or half inferior ovary. The ovary here will be called as what? Half superior or half inferior ovary. Whereas the flower, ಇದು ಮೇಲೇನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಕೆಳಗಡೆನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, the flower is neither above the gynoecium or ovary nor below the gynoecium or ovary. That is why it can be called as what? Perigynous flower. Perigynous flower. Okay, so these are the three different types of flowers based on the position of ovary within the flower. Okay, one is hypogynous flower, epigynous flower, and perigynous flower. Okay, so this is the flower: hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous flower. And examples also, it is very important for you to remember. For hypogynous flower, andre superior ovary yavudralli irutte, like you can give the example of sunflower. Sorry, sunflower can be the example for which one? Inferior ovary. Other example for epigynous flower you can consider cucumber. Cucumber ಮತ್ತು sunflower ನಲ್ಲಿ inferior ovary ಇರುತ್ತೆ. That means what? They have got epigynous flowers, right? Whereas in the case of the hypogynous flower, this can be the the example for this one can be your favorite China rose. China rose means what? That is hibiscus only, right? And you can give the example of mango also here, right? Or you can also give the example of brinjal. These are the examples for what? The hypogynous flower or superior ovary, right? And for perigynous, you can give the example of plum, rose are the examples of perigynous flowers, right? Or even the peach also, plum, rose, peach are the examples of perigynous flower or half superior or half inferior ovary. Okay, so this is the classification of the flowers that is based on the position of the ovary, and the other type of classification, other three types of classification, that is based on the number of appendages present in the flower and a number of, or you can say the presence or absence of the androecium and gynoecium, and the one more is what? That is the based on the symmetry of the flower. ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಇಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. actinomorphic flower ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಸಿಮೆಟ್ರಿ ಯು ಮೇ ಬಿ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಟು ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫೈ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್, ಮೇ ಬಿ ಫಾರ್ 2 or 3 marks. ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 3 marks. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಒಂದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಫಾರ್ 1 mark. ಮೇ ಬಿ ದೇ ಮೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಯು ಟು ಡಿಫೈನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಪಿಗೈನಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ perigynous, or what is hypogynous ovary, and mention the examples. So all different types of questions can be framed on this. Try to remember. In the next session, we are going to study about the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium in detail.